All right, beloveds, welcome to Real Talk Business Abundance. I am really delighted to be here with you all on this very wet, moist, foggy day. I am coming to you from the Salish Sea up here in Washington State and would love to take a brief moment before we dive into this curriculum and simply center ourselves in time and space and in our own bodies. So if it feels good to bring a hand on your body somewhere, could be on your heart, could be on your belly, could be both, and maybe close your eyes and take a nice slow breath. Feeling yourself on the earth. Another breath. Feeling the texture of your clothes, the temperature of the room, and the quality of your mood, the quality of your frequency today. One more breath. I'd love to offer a quick invocation for us. Great Spirit, Divine Mother, Blessed Creator, Creatrix, thank you for this day. Thank you for this breath. Thank you for this opportunity to cross space and time, to be together in the mystery, in the question, and in the contemplation of abundance through the channel of our work and through the channel of these body vessels, these wise minds, these infinitely unbound hearts, and these incredibly attuned intuitions. Bless the trinity of our gut, our heart, and our mind, and the ability to guide us through this life. May we be guided into a field of abundance in the perfect way that we are meant to. Giving yourself a little shake, coming on back. So I'm so grateful to be here with you all today, and we are going to be exploring over the next 5 days this topic of business abundance. And I had to put the real life business abundance in there because if you don't know me, hi, I'm Britta GreenViolet, and I am a teacher and a guide and a mentor. And what I'm really interested in this life is bridging the mystic and the mundane, and talking about, thinking about, teaching about, embodying deeply spiritual concepts. Like at the heart of what I do, that is what I do. I love to create a heart-centered and spirit-led life, and also to create a spirit-led business and a spirit-led body of work, and to live my calling and to support others to do the same. So hopefully that resonates with you if you're here, because that is my mission, and that's what we're going to do here today, is start to get into some of the nitty-gritty of when we talk about abundance. What does that actually mean, and what are we calling in, and what is it that we want, and what is it that we actually need? What is enough? These are some of the questions that I'm going to be inviting us into this week, because I am in a deep moment of studentship with the energy of money and the energy of prosperity and the energy of wealth and the energy of abundance. And in some ways, this is part of our curriculum, right? Throughout our entire lives. And yet I feel that it's really asking for my attention in a new way this year. So I'm excited to bring some of these contemplations to all of you. And I would love to say right off the bat, I would love to hear any questions you have as we're going in the chat. Any comments you have are so welcome. And let's dive in, because my goal is to practice the sacred art of brevity and to be concise and to aim for about 30 minutes of teaching over 5 days for each day. So I've got a few little slides and I'm going to open those up and we're going to dive in. Okay, can everyone see that okay? Maybe let me know. Yes, okay. So, real talk business abundance. Maybe the first thing I'll say is something that I've been really contemplating as I bring this teaching forward of who am I to teach on this topic? And actually, I invite us all to simply start chewing on this. Who am I to be stepping deeper into the state of abundance, into prosperity? What lessons have I learned over my lifetime? What lessons am I being invited into? What has my unique curriculum been? And I'll be talking about this more over the next 5 days, but in brief, I am a business owner, an entrepreneur. I've had my own business, which has had several iterations over the last 7 years. And I'm a new homeowner and have had a really magnificent journey of finding my way into a prosperous life and constantly dancing with and grappling with and hopefully sometimes overcoming, right, the scarcity complex and all of the wounding that we all have around money, around enough, around abundance and scarcity. So today is day one. We're starting with clarifying your vision. And we're going to get into specifically what that means to clarify your vision. So the first thing I want to throw out there is what came through that I really wanted to teach here this week. What I want to offer from my heart to yours is what I'm going to call the economy of attention. Because if we're talking about abundance, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you all are here because you want to feel more abundant. You want to feel like you're flowering and thriving and doing fucking amazing things in your life with incredible people, and you have everything you need. Your needs are met, right? And when we boil that down, I'm going to guess that a lot of you are here because you really want perhaps more dollars in your bank account. You want more security, you want more safety. So a lot of this, right, we're going to talk today all about the difference between wealth and prosperity. And the first thing I want to say is when we think about money, right, we think about economy. And what I'm finding is really nourishing for me is to think about it in this frame of the economy of attention. Because truly, where I place my attention has much to do with how prosperous I feel. So we're going to focus in 3 places in terms of our attention this week. The first place is our frequency, the attention to our frequency, which you could also call your vibration. You could call it your quality of beingness, your essence, how you show up to each day to the best of your ability, right? What you're paying attention to when it comes to what you read and what you watch and the people you're around and the surroundings that you're in, right? And how we use this incredible vessel of the mind. So this is part 1 is frequency. Part 2 is our dollars, right? Putting attention on our dollars in a way that up-levels the economy of our personal ecosystem. And then the third piece is the attention to our actions. And I include our words inside of our actions here. So what are we actually doing when we are raising our frequency, and when we are putting our eyes and our hands on our dollars, then what are the next action steps that are up-leveling us, right? So today we're going to talk a little bit about this first piece, about the frequency piece, and I'm really excited to offer you this framing of the difference between wealth and prosperity. So first of all, when I say these three words, wealth, abundance, and prosperity, take a moment, dear ones. If you could get really honest with yourself, when you saw this class and you saw this offering, and when you feel into your life in general, like if you could pick one of those and say, I want that, which one would it be? Just gut instinct. Like which one of those three words are you drawn to immediately over the others? Wealth, abundance, or prosperity? And pop it in the chat. This is not a leading question. This is simply a curiosity that we're going to play with. Yeah, beautiful. Prosperity, though I don't really know what it means for me personally. Beautiful. Perfect answer. They're all perfect answers. Abundance. Between wealth and prosperity, I choose prosperity, but between prosperity and abundance, I choose abundance. Tie between abundance and prosperity. Okay. So wonderful. So what I can feel right away with those of us collected here is that prosperity and abundance, we are leaning toward over wealth. And this right here is the first piece that I think is really helpful to clarify, since we're going to clarify our vision here, right? And we're going to get into what these words mean. And I want to give a shout out right at the front of this to Richard Rudd, who is the author of this amazing, much more than a book, but a system of wisdom called the Gene Keys, which I'm a student of for a number of years now. And I'm going to offer 7 differences between wealth and prosperity that come directly from Richard. So I want to bring these to you because I am contemplating these teachings really deeply right now for myself. And I'm finding it to be a very fruitful contemplation because I don't know about all of you, but yeah, thank you, Allison, in the chat. I feel abundant in so many ways, but there's a safety in wealth that sounds comfortable. Yeah, thank you, love. It's so true, right? And we're not going to make wealth the enemy here, right? And let's talk about it. Right? Let's talk about the differences, and then let's really look holistically, which is what I love to do. All right, so here we go. Difference number 1. Prosperity leads to simplicity. Wealth leads to complexity. So when Richard Rudd talks about these differences between excuse me, prosperity and wealth, he talks about prosperity as a flow, right? Prosperity is like a river. It is a flowing of resources that come and go through the ecosystem of our lives, right? It's like a flowing, abundant river, right? Which perhaps flows vigorously in some areas and creeps to a trickle in others. And then in juxtaposition to that, when we think about wealth, the reason why he says that wealth leads to complexity is because wealth, by definition, is about accumulation. It's about accumulating dollars, right? And of course, accumulating assets, accumulating opportunities, accumulating accounts, right? Accumulating specific financial assets that build to our net worth, right? Our net worth. And let's even talk, let's simply surface that phrase, our net worth. When we say that our net worth it uses the same root as self-worth, right? So hopefully you can get a sense there that this is big work that we're doing to actually separate out our net worth from our self-worth. So the complexity is in the accumulation. And if we think about this again in nature, accumulation is often not a great thing, right? It doesn't lead to a healthy ecosystem. It can be good for a while, right? There can be an accumulation of leaves on the ground in the winter, which when they fall look incredibly beautiful. And then, of course, they compost, hopefully, right? And go back to the earth and feed the trees that they're underneath. But perhaps there's too many of them and they start to rot in a way that isn't great for the tree, right? So this is one tiny example, but this is the first piece of this, is thinking about simplicity and flow, simplicity and fluidity, movement, right? Versus complexity and accumulation and what you might also call stagnation. Now, again, I'm going to keep saying this because it's not that wealth is evil or wrong or bad, right? I think that we do put it on this pedestal and we assume that if we are just able, that is such a uncomfortable statement to even say. If we are just able to accumulate enough, then our lives will be smooth sailing, right? But actually what we see in the world when we look at people who are incredibly wealthy, for the most part, those people are not happier. Their lives are not simpler. As kind of the myth goes that you'll have more time when you have more money. I don't know that that's really true, right? If we look at the evidence in front of us, I think there's a lot of evidence that points in the other direction. So this is simply information to start to feed into our psyche and into our heart and allow it to soften perhaps some of that gripping. Difference number 2, prosperity is about lucidity. Wealth is about or leads to anxiety. So again, I feel like this sort of piggybacks off the first one, because where there is simplicity, there is sustainability, right? I chose this mug for us today. It says a sustainable universe. Because something that I've been saying to myself a lot is simplicity is sustainable, right? And if it's not simple, then it's not sustainable. And if it's not sustainable, I don't actually want it, right? Because we all know what the opposite of sustainable is, right? So the lucidity is for me, it means spaciousness. It means the space to pause and breathe and think and be conscious in life, in this experience. Whereas wealth, again, when you think about an accumulation, we can probably feel it, right? We know what it's like to have a lot of papers on our desk or a lot of things in our calendar on any given month or any given day. When there's a buildup and an accumulation, it means there's more to manage. And that means there's kind of a bigger gap, right? That needs to be filled and managed. And often that's, I think, when we sink into the space of anxiety. Number 3 is prosperity flows from love. And the Gene Keys talks about this really in depth, and I'm not going to go into that. But what I will say is that the way that that Richard Rudd frames it is that we arrive at prosperity and abundance through the portal of the heart. And again, we see what has happened, what is happening, what continues to happen for people in the world who accumulate wealth, whose heart is closed, who aren't in touch with their calling, their mission, with the world, with compassion, right? With the spirit of love. So there is, again, this difference between wealth and prosperity, and that if we are indeed choosing the path of prosperity, that has to actually follow the work of opening our heart, of living with an open heart as much as we possibly can, which I like to say is the greatest work of our lives. Number 4, prosperity is of the whole being. Wealth involves only the material plane. I don't think I have to say too much about this because I have a sense that you all probably get what I'm putting across here, right? That when we think of the word wealth, it very specifically means an accumulation of assets, an accumulation of dollars, an accumulation of things, of stuff, right? Whereas prosperity, to prosper, what does that mean? Coming back to definitions. When I think of the word prosper, I think synonyms are to thrive, to flourish, to blossom, I think of the word fluorescence, right? To bloom, to be awake and alive and excited and peaceful all at the same time. That to me is prosperous. To have my needs taken care of and to be excited about life, right? And to feel one with life and one with myself and one with you all, right? So whole being versus the material plane. Number 5, prosperity is philanthropic, which at the heart means that when we are truly in touch with the spirit of philanthropy, we know with prosperity, we know that there is a reciprocity, that there is a giving as well as a receiving, and that when we give, we feel we receive so deeply, and that we learn that more and more. And that even when we step into prosperity, we may even become more willing to give, even when we feel like, things feel really tight right now, but could I give $1 to that homeless person? Things feel really tight right now, but could I give to this charity that is on the ground giving relief in a war zone? Could I give in these moments of feeling somewhat contracted? And what happens to that contraction when I give? Clearly not an amount that is irresponsible, right? But an amount that is philanthropic, an amount that feeds me, that actually nourishes me and perhaps calms me a little bit. Reminds me that there is enough and that I am enough and that I have enough and that there is enough for all. Number 6, I love this one. Prosperity is relative, which means that what prosperity looks like for me might be really different than what it looks like for you, or for your best friend, or for your mother. And the Gene Keys goes into this in a deeper way and talks about, for example, that for somebody, prosperity might literally look like simplicity, living a very simple life. For another person, prosperity might look like celebration. Like they love to throw the party and be the life of the party and bring everybody with them. That requires a different amount of resources than the person who prospers in simplicity, which is different from the person who thrives and feels most prosperous in a charitable way when they are able to give. They want wealth so that they can give it away. So this, and there's more facets to this, and we're going to talk about this, right? But hopefully you're starting to feel some of those internal mechanisms turning a bit and asking this question, oh, what is prosperity for me? What does it look like for me? What is my facet of it? What is my role in this ecosystem, right? I chose this photograph of the forest for this slide because it felt right to think about the different roles that all of these beings and creatures and the sunlight and the trees and the bugs and the flora and the fauna, right? Everything is playing a role. And the final piece is that prosperity is to know the essential in life. And I loved this picture of this boy reading scripture, but looking delightful and mischievous. And there's a luminosity there, right? So to know the essential in life is to prosper. And when we aren't prospering, certainly we are not knowing what's most essential. One of the things I love that Richard Rudd says is this phrase, I breathe, therefore I prosper. Simply to be breathing and alive in this moment. Wow, what a miracle, right? Let's start there. That's where the work begins. So those are the 7 differences, and I have 2 questions that I would love for you all to chew on today. And if you have some time to journal, you're welcome to take a screenshot of this, or maybe you want to jot down the question. So 2 questions for you. And the first one is, why do you want more money? Why do you want more money? Or why do you want money? If you feel like you have virtually nothing, which is still more, right? So why do you want more money? And I would love to invite you to list out 10 specific reasons. And again, this is not a leading prompt or a leading question, and it's going to be different for every single person. Why do you want more money? How do you want to feel, right? Is it about where is the money going to go? How is it going to make you feel? How will it change how you relate to your community, to the planet, to your friends, to your family, to your business, right? Like, what are the key elements for you that feel important? And of course, we've heard so much about the word why, right? To know your why is important. And I realize that it's very cliche at this point. I feel like it's so cliche that I even push back against it because my sacred rebel is strong. And yet, when I read this, I remember again, oh, right, this is helpful, right? Because on one sense, if we move more and more toward the knowing that this isn't my money, actually, ever. I am a steward for the divine. I am an accountant. I'm a bookkeeper for the God, the goddess, great mother, divine spirit, for their dollars, right? I am simply the conduit. So what am I going to do with it? And perhaps simply knowing where it's going to go and why you want it is a clear signal that you're open to receive it because you actually know what it's for and you know why it's important to you. So that's question number 1. And then question number 2 is this one. What does abundance actually mean to you? And you could also swap out abundance for prosperity. What does prosperity actually mean to you? Something that I will offer before we conclude for today is that I did look up definitions to all of these words, and abundance actually simply means a lot of something. So you could have an abundance of dollars. You could have an abundance of flowers. You could have an abundance of trees. You could also have an abundance of cockroaches, an abundance of bills. That's right. An abundance of paperwork that needs to be dealt with sitting on your desk. Right? So an abundance actually, it has come to have a really positive feeling to it, right? It has a positive connotation. And yet, if we really tune in to the description, the definition, abundance simply means a lot of, right? Which could also mean an accumulation. And this is why I find myself more and more drawn toward this phrase of prosperity, this word, this code, right? This imprint. What does it mean to be prosperous? What does it mean to be abundant for you? So this is an inquiry I would love for you to think about. Like, what does that feel like to me? Because it's true that some of us, that does mean getting to sit quietly and play music for 2 hours a day. That would be prosperity. And still have my needs met, right? For another person, it would be, being able to donate, 100 grand to a presidential candidate that I believe in, right? Another person, it would be, being able to like throw an incredible party at my business that was free, for simply an appreciation party for anybody and everybody who has ever come here, right? Simply an outpouring of celebration of life and gratitude. For some people, that prosperity might not even be in the form of dollars, right? Same with the simplicity piece. One of the pieces they talk about in the Gene Keys is about recognition, that there's a form of prosperity that's actually all about recognition, feeling seen and recognized, and seeing and recognizing others, that is its own form of currency. That is its own economy of attention, right? So are you all willing to take these questions to heart and spend a little time writing today? Wonderful. Good. Because we're going to be building on this as we keep going through this exploration. So that's day one. Clarify the vision. And as you can see, the vision isn't, when I first started formulating this curriculum, I feel like I always start there with clarify the vision, no matter what I'm doing. It might be the first step in my Becoming Prolific course also, but what that means in that course is very different. What it means in this context of real talk business abundance is, well, let's actually clarify the vision of, do you desire wealth? Do you desire abundance? Do you desire prosperity? Clearly, I think it's safe to say we desire all three of them, right? And let's really get clear on what those words mean so that we can start to be conscious when we are creating our quarterly goals or our annual goals for revenue, or when we are dreaming into what we would love to charge for our services, right? What we would love to sell a book for, what we would love to receive, right? In any given shape or form. knowing that we have that tuning fork now of, okay, well, am I going for wealth here or am I going for prosperity? And if I was going for prosperity, what would that look like? How would that look different from if I were going for wealth, right? If that's where I was, as I like to say, pointing my heart's arrow. So that is what we've got for today, beloveds. Tomorrow, we are going to be here, same place, same time, and we are going to talk about naming your obstacles. Naming your obstacles. It's going to be good. And of course, it's part of clarifying, right? And then I hope that you'll stay with me all week because we're going to be talking about spreadsheets and brainstorming revenue plans. And we're going to be running this gamut, right, of real talk, frequency, dollars, and action steps, and then bringing all of those together. So thanks for being with me, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Blessings today, and I hope you really enjoy these writing prompts. I hope you light a candle for yourself and maybe put on some essential oil or some yummy incense or drink a cup of your favorite delicious medicinal tea with your favorite plant ally and let yourself go deep. Let yourself go deep, because the deeper you begin with these inquiries, I think the deeper you'll be able to take everything else that's coming for you this week. So thank you, beloveds. Thanks for being with me, and I will see you at noon Pacific tomorrow. Blessed be.